Well, already, gang, welcome back to the Active Self-Protection Podcast. I am yet again your host, Mike Williver, and with any luck at all, I remain your favorite former Fed.
Today's sponsor is Bond, a personal security platform and a very useful tool between everything is fine and calling 911. It's the I'm uncomfortable button that gives you and your loved ones instant on security agents so you're never alone. Bond agents engage and deter perps who want no witnesses. They have a 100% track record deterring crimes of opportunity because it's like installing a can of OC spray on your phone. It's for when you can't carry tools and for your loved ones who won't. Check out Bond's special ASP discount at the link below.
With me today, a new friend of mine. His name is Josiah. Josiah is from the beautiful, never been, but I hear beautiful Chattanooga, Tennessee area. He works a job in security, a security-related field. He is married with 3 kids, and his wife has abandoned him with those 3 kids to go on vacation, which is just a really smart idea, actually, now that I think about it. Josiah, how are you, sir?
I'm doing pretty good. Surviving. Kids are still alive. So,
all right. So we have kind of, yeah, don't let the kids die. When the wife's out, that's really frowned upon. When you wrote in, you had a specific story, and there was a video that has been out. I will try to leave the date it came out on the YouTube channel in the notes. I didn't look it up ahead of time because I'm bad at my job. But it was broken down by John on the main channel. I have purposely not watched John's breakdown or the video so that I can get this sort of firsthand. Like I'm here, we'll be hearing it for the first time. With that said, before you were in, first of all, how long have you been in the security field?
Private security, probably, almost 3 years. My entire adult career has been military, law enforcement, private security. So the general concept of like protecting people and that type of lifestyle has been the last 10 years or so, but just specifically like private security has been about 3 years.
Okay. Let me ask you, how do you like it? Because a lot of people, I think, have an idea of what security is and what security guards look like. And I did it for a while, and I was proud of my job. I did it conscientiously. I did a very good job at it, and I treated people with respect and did all the things that I did eventually as a law enforcement officer. So is this something you want to make a career of, or do you want to end up doing something else, or what are your thoughts on that?
I'm not really keen on making a career of it. I enjoy what I do a lot. I really enjoyed my job at the hospital where the video originated from. Really, really fun job. I don't work for that company anymore because I'm getting old and fighting crazy naked people is not top of my to-do list anymore.
Yeah.
But I really do enjoy it. It's a lot of fun. It's very rewarding. I enjoy interacting with people and just kind of helping out.
Yeah, hospital security is its own animal. Like it's not the same as working a shopping mall or working, a bank or anything else, because you are going to probably have to go hands-on multiple times a week working at a hospital. You probably more than the police do, frankly, because people come to the ER frequently because they don't have a ton of dough and they don't have health insurance, and they come in to get something fixed, at least temporarily, or stabilized. And those people are unfortunately very frequently under the influence of narcotics or psychotic or whatever, or they're mad because they're not being seen fast enough. So kind of characterize, just generally speaking, how many times in a week or a month were you actually having to go hands-on and get physical with somebody as a result of that, your former job at the hospital?
I fought people at least once a day, sometimes 2 or 3 times a day.
Oh boy.
Sometimes it was kind of like a struggle less than an actual fight. But it was a daily thing. I jokingly tell people that I was in the Marines for 4 years. I was worked for the sheriff's office for 4 years, and in my time working as an emergency room security guard, I've had more guns pointed at me doing that than I have in my 8 years of military and law enforcement career. Wow. So it's a wild place down there.
Yeah, it is. My beloved sister worked for a long time as a social worker at an ER back in Maryland, and she has stories. I mean, people don't realize how many stories ER people and hospital security have, but they've got stories if they've done it for more than a week. So, yeah. Excuse me, I had to edit that out. Oh, that was terrible. So your incident happened about how long ago? The one that was on video.
It was November 2022, so about a year and a half ish.
Okay, and I'm going to also endeavor to leave a link to that to John's breakdown in the description, so look for that there. I've been doing that a lot with various things that I mentioned during the podcast and forgetting to tell people to look in the description for it. So look in the description for it. Hopefully, I will remember to put it in there. So how much training? So assume you were never part of the sheriff's department or the Marine Corps. How much training do you get before starting a job like that? And do you think that it's sufficient? Do you think the training that you received on the job or however they did it at the hospital would have been sufficient without your prior experience?
Absolutely not. It's bare minimum, meet the state's requirements to get an armed guard license and then send you off into the world. I think actual hours we did, um, like 8 hours of classwork for the unarmed security license, and then took a test. And then for the armed license, we did 8 hours of classroom and then 6 hours on the range, shoot a qualification, and then here's your gun and go and enjoy yourself and keep people
Wow.
safe. It's
That-
absolutely, yeah, it's abysmally bad.
Yeah, that doesn't sound sufficient at all.
No.
I'm glad you had prior experience. And would you say? Let me ask you this: if this same incident had happened, and that's all the training you had, do you think it would have gone the same way?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
Okay. So let's get into it. The incident that happened in 2022, and don't even forget, there's another one that happened recently. I also know nothing about that one, but I want to hear about it after we're done talking about this story. So, the incident in 2022, the one that's on the channel that John broke down, kind of walk us through that in your own words. Where were you? What were you doing? And how were you alerted to the fact that there was a problem?
Um, let's see. I was working a second shift. So I, at the time, was working first shift and was working overtime second shift. So I had come off of an 8 hour shift from 6 a.m. to 2 p.m., left that location, went to a second emergency room, same company, same hospital, just two different locations. And I had been there for, I think it was like 7 o'clock in the afternoon or 7 o'clock in the evening. So I'd been up and doing stuff for a while. Um, and I had just gotten coffee. I left my Yeti out there, but I just gotten coffee, filled up my Yeti mug, was sitting there, went to check on the psych patients. There was a very violent and aggressive one that was actually off camera in the video when the nursing tech comes and Terry Tate's the guy. You can kind of see the door, but there was a very large, very angry man who was locked in what is basically a padded room. Had walked over there, kind of peeked in there, saw the suspect, we'll call him that, kind of pacing around, just kind of visually took note of him, and then went to go kind of circle back around, and I saw that he was putting his grippy socks on. He was bent over, putting his grippy socks on, and he was kind of looking at me, and I was like, okay, that's a little weird. So then I just turned around and was fixing to walk off, and I noticed that he was walking towards me. So I kind of shifted my body a little bit because I'm right-handed, so my gun was on strong side on my right hand. So I shifted, had my mug in my right hand, and kind of propped myself back up against the desk because I was trying to kind of just give him some space to pace around. The nursing staff had been letting this particular gentleman kind of just pace back and forth because he said that it had helped him, and this facility was a little bit more relaxed than the main campus. And when I did that, when I sat back, I kind of looked down and just kind of glanced because I was, I don't know, distracted, squirrel brain or something. And in that time, he took two hard steps towards me. And when I looked back up, he was this close to me, reaching for my firearm. And he got a hold of the pistol grip of it. And when he pulled on it, he broke the third level hood retention. He broke that down, and then was just purely tugging on the thumb release. It was a Safariland ALS holster, so
Mhm.
shout out to Safariland.
Yeah.
And the only thing that was going through my mind, ironically enough, was John's voice was dominate, dominate, dominate. So I reached up, I took my left hand and I grabbed a handful of his hair, And I pulled his head back, and I had my Yeti mug in my right hand, and I drove my Yeti mug into the side of his head 4 times, hard enough to actually dent the bottom of the Yeti on his head.
Hmm.
And that got him to let go enough of my gun for me to be able to spin around. He pulled it hard enough that he pulled the holster on my belt. He didn't pull my belt. He pulled the holster along my belt, snapped the belt keeps off and stuff, and just pulled the holster straight. So it was now an appendix carry gun.
Right.
Um,
Right.
and once he let go enough for me to kind of spin around, I dropped the mug, put both hands on my gun, and just kind of turtled over, fell down on top of it, and just fell forwards and collapsed down on top of my gun.